Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to Diabetes Sisters Life Class webinar, Tips for Making It Easier. My name is Anna Norton, and I'm the CEO of Diabetes Sisters. I will also be moderating today's webinar. I'm excited to introduce Jennifer Smith, RD, LD, CDE. Jennifer holds a bachelor's degree in human nutrition and biology from the University of Wisconsin. She's a registered and licensed dietitian, certified diabetes educator, and certified trainer on most makes and models of insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitoring systems. She is an active member of the American Diabetes Association, the American Association of Diabetes Educators, her local adult type 1 JDRF support group, and was an educator and athlete with Team Wild. We Inspire Life with Diabetes. She is a contributing author for Diabetes Sisters, Insulin Nation, Insulet's Sweet D blog, and Diabetes Self-Care for Byram Health. She's currently writing a book with another friend of Diabetes Sisters, Ginger Vieira, on the management of type 1 diabetes in pregnancy. Jennifer is currently the Director of Lifestyle and Nutrition at Integrated Diabetes Services. As a talented dietitian, diabetes educator, athlete, mother, and person living with diabetes, Jennifer is in a very unique position to assist people with diabetes to learn how to optimize their own management. Please welcome Jennifer to lead us in that next half hour on tips for making it easier with diabetes.
Hi, everyone. Anna. First, Smith. I'm a dietitian graded diabetes service to looking to a and fantastic good advice, more information. That's your best. The tips that we're going to, the biggest tip that really is of the head chat a little bit of did a great job of introducing me about me personally. For myself, I many of you marathons. I haven't by no means do. I myself an elite athlete. I do resources, so if you've also seen some names someplace, it's very, very popular in many different places in the United States. Lecture on different topics, and Anna mentioned I'm a person 7 years, and long is fantastic. So even if I think that get uh, that vegetarian love I really me on the Inca Trail, my husband, to Peru. Phenomenal experience in life. Management and being talk with somebody. Bring this up. It's important to necessity, right? Go foodless. Authors who diabetes, I he really has point the and understand people who need to eat in the world of diet, what facts monitor to of this. And so important food for all management is really an important because a very, very simple approach and in management then brown life helps. So first mention chance of our body for so we want to have a take. We don't somebody from 100 years something that they would in a box, you know, eating really where the food comes from. It's a clean eating to spoil or and all these quotes from Pollan's books are very love and taking that like and the more of glucose management, eat it. A little bit all or none. At 80 during what necessary, we have to eat of the time. This means divided our week into is we have 3 meals in a day of 21 meals. Those meals, we need to be conscious of the meal. Why are we value does it have for the longevity? It's into what is often versus the 20% of the plan. There are no black and white, many gray areas of a narrower 20. We have the ability to choose not be as nutrient. There's that, I mean, we all have celebrations on a monthly basis. So if we understand again, and we have about that, we can, a fun word to use, if you're cake and eat it too. Or just decision, piece of our food culture, 20 to 30 years, we've got quite extensively. So of the 20%, realize and understand how to get rid of. One of them, relatively, should we evaluate to simplify what and what, but get rid of past means to evaluate because symptoms vary for meal hunger versus symptoms for hunger of a low blood sugar. Blood low, we need to treat the one to eat for the low one. And treating the low means really simple sugars affect the leptist. They're going to have effect on symptoms, and it's going to bring the blood sugar up, and hunger then will be stopped. Less to over if the low comes up. So learning to evaluate those symptoms, learning to treat appropriately, and not eat for the low, treat the low, makes a very big difference in our glucose control. It also makes a big difference in, again, longevity of health, because if we think about treating lows, we're going to have a lot less of a roller coaster in our blood sugar if we're truly just bringing low blood sugar back up simply and fast, and then we're returning to our normalized blood sugar in the aftermath. So getting rid of excess, a simple thing to consider is how to evaluate your hunger. A real easy test is, I love the term, use the apple test, because, or if you're allergic to or hate apples, obviously you're going to be hungry enough to eat an apple if you hate them or if you can't eat them. But evaluate, if you are hungry and you say, okay, I want to eat something. Do I really want to eat a banana? Do I really want to eat some celery sticks? Do I really want to eat, a handful of nuts? And if you don't, if you can tell yourself, no, I don't want that, but the chocolate cake on the counter looks really awesome, it's perhaps that you're not necessarily hungry, but that the situation presents food, and the visual of that food being there makes you consider eating. Another component with this is also evaluating boredom. A good rule of thumb is, if you truly have been fed within the past 2 to 3 hours and you're going to eat again and it's not blood sugar related, evaluate, are you bored? Is it a situational eating? And many times if you are not hydrating throughout the course of the day, it may in fact be that you're thirsty and you're not actually hungry. So kind of evaluate, try to drink something before you actually sit down to eat. That can make a big difference. Another component of getting rid of excess is keeping tempting foods out of your general vicinity, out of your house, out of your office, out of your desk, out of your purse, wherever you might stack it away or put it, thinking, well, somebody else in the house might like it or whatnot. You know what? If we're thinking of overall health for everybody, if you live on your own or if you live with 6 other people, consider overall health for everybody should be the same consideration. So keeping tempting foods out means you're benefiting the health of everybody, including yourself. And it doesn't mean it's an all or none principle again. I think that works very, very poorly. Have some soft rules around food, but don't set up hard and fast rules saying you're never, ever, ever going to have a piece of chocolate again, or you're never going to eat a cookie, or you're never going to have ice cream, because that kind of sets yourself up for failure. It's too rigid of a rule. But if you can have a soft rule, such as eating a treat or having something, when you're out of the house, let's say you and, your spouse or your significant other or a best friend, you go out once a week for a really awesome dinner or night out or whatever, have that as, your treat. Again, 80-20 plan, you've got about 4 meals or 4 snack types of things that could be worked in that are not necessarily conscious, healthy, nutritive food decisions. But choose, again, these foods as a treat when you're out of the house and don't bring them home. Also, start to understand your nutritional needs because it is really, really important to know where your calories are coming from. Consider the balance and portion and of the foods that you're eating. And this is where that 80-20 plan really comes to be helpful. And if you aren't quite sure how to evaluate what your caloric needs are, find somebody who can help you establish that. Because once you start understanding where your calories first are coming from and where they should be coming from based on activity level and all those things, then you can start to actually put together your clean eating plan. Within this, like I just mentioned, evaluating your intake means caloric evaluation, but it also means with diabetes that we need to look at those foods that we're eating and understand them a little bit better. And this is where I actually have to thank a really good friend of mine who gave me an idea of evaluating sort of common foods. Most people truly have about 20 to 25 foods that you eat on a regular basis, over and over and over. Some people, like myself, I have pretty much the same breakfast 98% of the time. I've figured it out. I know what it does to my blood sugar. Breakfast time is kind of a busy time in my house with a 3-year-old and getting myself ready for work and my husband ready for the day, and where it's just kind of a jumbled, busy time. And so having something that works and that I don't have to think too much about has made a really big difference in that time frame of the day. So if you can keep a log of common foods, even over the course of a week, just writing down, your meals and seeing how many times you have a spinach salad, or how many times you eat, such and such for breakfast, or such and such for a snack in the afternoon. If you keep a log, try to find about foods that you're eating about 75% of the time, and those are the ones to really then watch and pay attention. What is your trend around those meals or those snacks or those particular foods? What's working the best for you? Then you can look and evaluate if your insulin or the medication you use is actually effective. Because if you, didn't mean to move the slide ahead. If you know that you are calculating the foods correctly, let's say, if you are using the medication the way that you're meant to be using it, and the trend that you're seeing in your blood sugar doesn't look the way that you want it to look, then it's a time to consider, does something need to change? Again, the friend that I mentioned before, where I kind of got the idea of keeping a log of common meals, she actually started it when she was in her sort of preconception stage, before she and her husband had kids or got pregnant. She decided to keep track of her dinner meals, especially because those are the ones that fluxed the most for them. And so they nailed down, I don't even remember how many recipes or how many meals they had that were pretty common. She wrote them down, she got a ring binder, and below the recipe and the carb count and the portion size, she actually had a blood glucose log. And she made note of, this was my starting blood sugar, this was the amount of carb that I ate, or the portion that I ate at this time, this is how much insulin I gave. She even noted things like, I used an extended bolus, or I took part of my insulin at the beginning of my meal and part of my insulin at the end of the meal. And she found out what worked best for those common meals. And in order to then move that into pregnancy, it helped her considerably because she knew the meals that worked the best for her. And we know that when we are pregnant, blood sugar control becomes much, much tighter. The parameters are tighter. The flux in blood sugar control needs to be tighter, and insulin needs change considerably. She had a starting place. So even outside of pregnancy consideration, if you have a lot of fluctuation right now and you're trying to figure things out and you just don't know where to start, again, food being a major component in our blood sugar management, this may be something that's really helpful for you, and it might mean it's the common meals that you look at. Maybe you've got a breakfast figured out, or you've got your lunch figured out, or you've got vegetables, or fruits figured out. Look at the things that you have trouble around, log, and evaluate your intake, evaluate the components of that meal. Also within this comes the use of tools. And there are tools for a lot of things. We just need to make use of them. There are measuring tools, and those are kind of hard tools or visual tools. And then we've also got technological tools. So when we think of measuring tools, if you're kind of coming from the old school realm of education years and years ago, diagnosed 27 years ago myself, I learned to use measuring cups. I learned to weigh things on a scale, certainly not as fancy scales as we now have today, but the little bouncy scales. My mom and dad weighed everything. They taught me to weigh everything. But I think even with all the fancy stuff that we have today, 27 years ago, using things like measuring cups and kitchen scales, those are actually really good resources. I actually went, many years ago, I went to the dollar store and I actually picked up a load of measuring cups. And if I have something that's packaged, or even something that's not packaged, but it's like a dry grain, let's say it's wild rice or it's quinoa or something like that, I actually put the measuring cup right into the package as soon as I get that home from the store, because then I don't have to go to my drawer, dig the cup out, and measure. The cup's already there, and it's a visual cue. Oh yeah, this is the portion. So it's one less step. So measuring cups can be helpful. Kitchen scales can be helpful. My favorite kitchen scale is actually the Eat Smart Nutrition Pro scale. You can get it at eatsmartproducts.com. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever, but their kitchen scale is fantastic. There are several others like it on the market, but I like it because it's easy to use, and it comes with a catalog of foods. So essentially when you put a food, like let's say an apple, on the scale, the little code book that comes along with the kitchen scale actually has a code for, I think it's almost 1,000 foods. And the code for an apple is 2. I like apples. It's the time of the year that apples are in season. When I put my apple on the kitchen scale and I hit code 2 on the digital component, it actually tells me how many grams of fiber, how much carbohydrate is in that apple, and so it's much more accurate. And While in today's world, things are not always as accurate. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. We often swag a lot more than we're actually truly accurately carb counting. But using things like measuring cups and kitchen scales in our home environment, when we have the time to do it, can prepare us for using an estimate that's much more appropriate when we are away from home. So if you know that your tennis ball size, apple, when you weighed it at home, is averaging out to be 17 grams of carb, and you're out at a restaurant or you're out someplace and you can grab an apple and it looks to be about the same size and you can use that 17 grams of carb from memory, that can make a difference, especially for people who are using insulin to manage and are dosing according to how much carbohydrate they might be eating. A few grams of carb, depending on what an insulin to carb ratio is, a few grams of carb off may make a difference in your blood sugar management. So again, using measuring tools when you have the ability to can prepare you for when you do have to guess a carb amount. There are also some portion estimation tools which are really helpful. A woman's clenched fist is about a 1 cup portion. So with things like our starchy vegetables, things like potatoes or corn or green peas, a fist size on a plate being approximately a 1 cup portion, that averages to be about 25 to 30 grams of carb. So if you had to use that as an estimation, it's a lot closer than just a wide guess. Starchy things like pasta, whether it's a white pasta or a whole wheat pasta, that fist size of cooked pasta on a plate is about 40 to 45 grams. Same for rice. A fist of cooked rice on a plate is about 50 to 55 grams. So those are some easy portion estimation tools, and most of us have a hand that we can estimate based on. Your hand with all of your fingers spread out in front of you is about an 8-inch diameter. So if you have things like tortilla wraps and those types of things, you can judge the carbs based on that portion size. The palm of your hand is a good estimate for a 3-ounce portion of meat. It could also be a good estimate for something like a cookie. We've got the holidays coming up, and there are lots and lots of treats around. So something like the palm of your hand size cookie is about 20 to 25 grams of carb. Again, something like a tennis ball, although you might not carry one around with you in your purse, most people are pretty aware of what a tennis ball size looks like. That's really helpful for things like a piece of fruit. So a tennis ball is an apple, an orange, a peach, a pear, a plum, nectarine. Each piece of fruit about that size is about 15 grams of carb. So these measuring tools, these portion estimation tools, they can make a big difference if we choose to put them to use. Another really good tool is, of course, technology. And in the past even 10 years, technology has grown tremendously. And it's also grown in the field of diabetes management. There are so many tools that are available for our tracking and logging and evaluation. And again, we have to make use of these tools. So find the tool, find the app, especially if you've got a smartphone or an iPad or something like that that you can use an app on. Find the one that best meets your current needs. If you're trying to just keep, let's say, a diabetes log, one of the best on the market is the My Sugar Companion Pro. The people who created are actually out of Austria, and the gentleman who made it is actually, he has type 1 diabetes. So it comes from somebody who gets these from the personal side, not just putting an app together. It's a very user-friendly app. It's actually a lot of fun to use. And I personally using it as well as clinically using it is that you can send records of logs to whoever you choose to email them to. So there's no downloading, no computer. It all goes to whoever you want it to go to. If you need help tracking things like you want to increase your activity and can see what that does for your management, things like Fitbit. There are lots of them, jarbled trackers they usually all sync with some type of a smart device. Some of them even sync some of apps so that you can look at things all together. Things like Pal, they actually sync together. Food tracking, good one is MyFitnessPal. There are lots of on the market. I think a really good one by using insulin via injection and want a little assistance that's more would actually pump you and keep track the last time you dosed and should I this app is ask diabetes manager work for it. Doses your radar and your correction the app and use an time for correction. Out of it for you. Carb counting apps. I think get our calories and for really good ones. And so you typed in something and you wanted to get a report based on the cals, pictures of a portion would click on the portion that looks in that nice resource to use for information. A piece of bread looks like. Look at something a bit more friendly and your tools. Really important thing this for me at your tip. Look at data. If glucose monitor is down, most of portable. If you have a pump, find out how to know to look at Kiro and compare it to your data and learn trusting your end, which happens every month. Essentially in between when you make 3 and 4 months time, knowing how to sell data to today is going to help you now. Months, your goal is to get your goal is to control pregnancy, learn to get your own data, look for trends, and look at different. Help with course, seek education about data, find a good CDE. I can tell you that there are many, there aren't enough of them. And there comes a lack of ability for them to good teaching out. So find a good CDE who meet your need currently on, not by post on the agenda. Ticking, yep, we'll talk about this. Essentially, they be able to get your down data. They can take your data with you, and if you to keep notes or source of talking, more effective figuring out. If you don't have notes, it's the best guess that educator or even that to say, well, you know, I hear that there seems trend, but I don't know when. Your notes can make difference in how I teach you and how adjustment as well. Educators will be able to teach you self-analysis and self-adjust. They should be somebody that is a good mover. Shouldn't be somebody who says, well, you know, I'm going to do this, and you come back again, we'll evaluate and look at it. They should be there to say this how I would make an adjustment. You should start to come. You should also feel that if you do need assistance, and you be able to email them, call them, back. Essentially, they should also listen to your questions with judgment, remembering and understanding that your experience with diabetes is specifically unique. Diabetes education isn't get you very far if you've got certain issues that they've experienced before, or if you don't share your unique experiences with them. Also have to be able to teach you to understand all the factors that could be affecting your glucose control. Again, everybody is different, so it's important to understand what factors may be at play for you versus somebody else. There are a lot of other resources that are available. There are so many books that have been written by people who live with diabetes. And so if you haven't, look for some of the resources, use them as tools. The one thing that I like about all of the books, these are all actually books that I have here as resources for you. If in fact you have any of these, great. I hope that you've looked. And one important thing is that all of these books are not necessarily in need of being read from cover to cover. If you read them from cover to cover, it may actually not make much sense for you. If you pick out the chapter that you need and utilize that chapter, it's going to make a lot more difference for your management. Think Like a Pancreas, which is by Gary Shiner, Your Diabetes Science Experiment, which is by a very friend of mine, Vieira, the Pumping Insulin, all of them have specific chapters that are a specific topic. The most important for you to focus on and work through that. The Diabetic Athlete is really nice. Sherry Kohlberg did a wonderful job of essentially looking at as many possible sporting events and sporting situations as possible, and she gives a lot of really good tips and recommendations for how to adjust all different types of medications in the athletic world. Both pills, injectables, pump recommendations and everything. And then the Woman's Guide to Diabetes is an all-out, really nice resource specific to women, done by Brandy Barnes with Diabetes Sisters, and then Natalie Strand, who was actually the, I don't remember which year it was, but she won the amazing race with a friend of hers. So just again, look for resources and expand and look and read for information that you may be lacking. The biggest component to management, and I think the best tip, let's say, is we have to expect that diabetes management takes time. So we need to take the time. If we expect to see changes, we need to look at what needs to be adjusted. It's not going to magically happen. Taking time also means making diabetes a priority. It may not necessarily be number one priority after you get some things kind of, let's say, quote unquote, figured out. However, taking the time up front to make changes nutritionally, to make changes to how you adjust for exercise, to make changes to your background insulin or to your oral medication, or even taking the time to figure where your questions are and then going to your doctor and asking the specific questions, making those a priority will make a difference long term for your overall management. Stephen Ponder, who actually wrote Sugar Surfing, which probably a lot of you have heard of or maybe read, he says learn the tools that you need in order to get the results that you want. And in learning the tools, you have to use the tools. We also have to then learn to trust our own instincts. I love his, quote, essentially learn to wax your board. It's kind of like driving a car. You need to take some steps in order to make sure that you know which button to push for this and what to do for that. Essentially, waxing your board means you have to learn what tools are the best for you to use overall. So that's essentially all the tips and the tricks that I have for all of you. Again, I'm with Integrated Diabetes, so if there are some questions or anything that I didn't answer for you, or topics or things that I maybe didn't bring up, or a tip that you think is great and I should have mentioned, please let me know. And I know there's probably some time for questions now, and I know that Anna was going to make note of some of the questions and let me know so that I can answer them while we're all on together.
Hi, this is Anna again. Actually, Jennifer, we didn't have any questions during the webinar, but I did want to stress that if anyone had any questions, to feel free to send them either to Jennifer or send them to us at Diabetes Sisters, and we'll forward that to Jennifer. You can reach us at info@diabetessisters.org. I apologize for any of the audio challenges that we had during this webinar. We will have the slides that Jennifer posted and whatever audio is available on our website later this evening. Our website is www.diabetessisters.org. I want to thank Jennifer for participating in the last webinar series class that we have for 2015. We have a comment. It says that Jennifer was awesome. So Jennifer, you're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
But I wanted to urge everyone to check our website out for the different webinars that we'll be offering in 2016, starting in January. Before we sign off, I want to thank everyone for registering and participating in today's webinar. We had over 70 people register, and as promised, we've taken all of those registrants and entered them into a drawing for a copy of The Complete Diabetes Organizer that was written by Susan Weiner and Leslie Jossel. The winner is actually someone who's still online with us. It's Gracie Hampton. Congratulations, Gracie. I'll be contacting you about your prize and get that out in the mail to you. Thank you again. I want to wish everyone on behalf of Diabetes Sisters a wonderful holiday season, a happy Thanksgiving, a wonderful new year, and we will see you in January for our next installment of the Life Class webinar series. Thanks all.